Okay, so we just looked at how to outline a very simple, completely randomized experiment. But even when you do have a strong outline, there's so many factors that could play into, or so many variables that could play into your experiment that you're trying to account for. And so there's just a lot that can go wrong. And so another type of experiment that we use is a double blind experiment, and that's when neither the subjects or those interacting with the subjects know which treatment is being given. This is definitely used a lot for the placebo effect, where you're administering the medication and the medicines look exactly the same. However, one's a sugar pill and the other is actually a pill that's supposed to improve your health. So a lot of times the person administering the pills won't even know which one they're giving because it could cause some bias. Also, if you want to do market research, if you want to go into advertising or something when you grow up, market researchers often don't know like what company they're potentially working for, so that they won't emphasize one particular product over another when they're doing some market research. So there's another time when we'll use double-blind experiments, or a lot of times computers. You've probably noticed even teachers, if they're reading multiple choice questions aloud, sometimes they'll emphasize the question that is the correct answer. So that would be a double blind. If the teacher didn't know which answer was the correct answer, it'd be more likely that they'd be less biased when they read the questions out loud. All right. So here's an example: layoffs and survivor guilt. So workers who survive a layoff of other employees at their location may suffer from survivor guilt. So if you see somebody that's laid off next to you, but you get to keep your job, are you going to feel guilty about that? And is it going to have an impact on your work production? Is essentially the outline or the summary of this experiment. So go ahead and read it. You'll probably have to pause the video, and there's a place for you to outline the design on your note sheet, and then also choose the first four subjects, or choose the subjects for treatment 1. All right, so here's Calvin and Hobbes, and Calvin's filling out a survey for Chewing Magazine. And so they asked how much money I spend on gum each week. And so he wrote $500, which is probably way more. And for his age, he put that he was 43. And they asked his favorite flavor. He wrote garlic and curry. Can you imagine chewing garlic and curry gum? That would be terrible. Nobody would want to talk to you. And so Calvin is like, or Hobbes, I don't even know which one's which, is saying, wow, they're going to have some pretty amazing ads soon. And Calvin's like, yeah, I like messing with data. So if you want to practice this, you probably want to go to Experimental Designs on Khan Academy. And you should be able to get 100 after watching this video. So there are smarter designs. We've just looked at some very basic designs up until this point. But there are some other things that we can do. And one is called blocking. And so blocking is when you actually group your subjects or your experimental units, in groups that are similar to one another. So for example, if you watch Rugrats, or if you watch Rugrats when you were a kid, they made Frumpies, and they want to improve their marketing. So they consult you. And they first want to know what fraction of children ages 10 to 13 like their celery-flavored cereal. So what kind of study should they perform? Yeah, they could perform, like a controlled random, where they give a certain amount of 10 to 13-year-olds the celery-flavored cereal, and others they don't, and they see which like their cereal. Or just do a simple taste test. Who liked the cereal? And then they're thinking of introducing a new flavor, this maple marshmallow Frumpies, and they want to know whether children will prefer the new flavor to the old one. So you want to design an experiment to investigate this question. Again, the randomization might come in which flavor you give the kids first. So sometimes you might give them celery first to test it out, whether or not they like it. Then you might want to give them marshmallow first and see which one they prefer. Okay, question C is where we start getting into blocking. They suspect that children who regularly watch Sunday morning cartoon show starring Frump, the flying teenage warrior rabbit who eats Frumpies in every episode, they might respond differently to the new flavor. How would you take that into account in your design? And so what you could do is you could ask some kind of question determining whether or not they actually watch the show. And if they do, you would want to block them. You'd want to put them in a group together. People that watch the show, or kids that watch the show, versus kids that don't watch the show. And see if that has some kind of impact on whether or not they like the maple mushroom Frumpies. Okay, so that's kind of giving you an idea of what blocking would look like. You definitely want to dive in this a little deeper when you're coming up with your design on your note sheet. Okay, another example would be Fizz Laboratories is a pharmaceutical company, and they're developing a new drug for relieving chronic pain. And they do have 60 patients suffering from arthritis, and they need pain relief. And so you want to kind of think about how are you going to work this experiment out to get the most statistically significant results. So pause the video and go ahead and design your experiment for this one. Now look back, could blocking be a better design? Remember, not only arthritis patients need the pain medication, so think about that as well. Okay. A wise experimenter will form blocks based on the most important unavoidable sources of variability among the experimental units. So if you know information might impact your results, you might want to put that variable together in a block so that you can test it against when that variable wasn't there. Another situation or another form of a randomized block design is a matched pairs design. This only can compare just two treatments, but basically you match the subjects in various ways to produce more precise results than just simple randomization. And so basically a matched pair design is a special case of a randomized block design. It can be used when the experiment has only two treatments and subjects can be grouped into pairs. And then that would be based on some blocking variable. And then in each pair, the subjects are randomly assigned different treatments. And so we're going to do a video within a video so you can kind of see what this looks like.
Professor Stevens wants to know if students learn more from homework that is completed on paper or homework that is completed through a computer program. To find the answer, he could look at two different classes, one in which all the students complete their homework on paper, and another where all the students complete their homework using a computer program, and compare their grades on a final exam. However, this approach might present some challenges. For example, Professor Stevens may not know if the professors who taught the two classes covered the material in the same manner, or if the final exams were exactly the same. Also, he may not know if there were other mitigating factors, like if the students in one class had higher grade point averages, or GPAs, than the students in the other class. In order to find out which method of homework promotes a higher level of learning, Professor Stevens could ask a professor to require that the students in one of his or her classes do their homework exclusively on paper, while the students in a second class use a computer program. This would ensure that all the students covered the same material and received the same type of instruction. However, it would not address all of the mitigating factors that could affect Professor Stevens' study.
We call those confounding.
Professor Stevens could also select 50 students to be split into two classes of 25 taught by the same teacher and devoted to paper-based or computer-based homework. Based on the students' GPAs, he could create 25 pairs of students and assign each half of a pair to one of the classes, thereby achieving some type of academic balance. At the end of the course, he could look at how the matched pairs did on their final exams and see if there was a difference in their grades based on whether they did their homework on paper or a computer. This is an example of a matched pairs design. A matched pairs design is a type of randomized block design that has two treatment conditions and pairs subjects based on common variables, such as age.
Okay, so they're going to kick me out now. and they're going to cause me to have to pay for it if I want to go any further. So hopefully that helped out. So you're going to, basically he said, take the kids, pair them up by similar GPAs. One does paper, one does computer work, and then in the end, come back and test to see which group did better. If there was another example would be listening to Mozart. The Mozart, does it make you smarter? So in 1995, they did this study. Trust me, all of our math teachers were playing Mozart in the classroom. And they wanted to know if it would improve their scores than if they simply sat quietly. And so you can go ahead and look at this study, pause the video, read the study, and complete the questions, A through D, for the grade. Another example is healing. A medical researcher suspects that giving post-surgical patients large doses of vitamin E will speed their recovery time. And so you want to go ahead and create an experiment to test this conjecture. It doesn't have to be, this one doesn't have to be matching pairs. It can be just a simple random outline. Just make sure that you include factors, levels, treatments, response variable, and the role of randomization. When is that going to play into your, so you're doing a regular outline here. All right, and gas mileage. Do cars get better gas mileage with premium instead of regular unleaded gas? So again, you're going to design the experiment using your knowledge of all the different types of experiments that we've talked about up until this point, and create an outline for your experiment. Pause the video if you need to reread the questions. So here's the last experiment. You wanted to see if candy after a meal would induce customers to leave a bigger tip. Back in the day when you used to go to Olive Garden, they used to give you Andes candy, and man, they were so good. I don't even know if they still do. I haven't been there in a while. But anyway, the question is that going to get the waitress a better tip if she leaves you candy? And so you're going to go ahead and read through this experiment, design the experiment, determine the factors, the levels, how many treatments, so on and so forth. When you are done with this experiment, you need to come see me, turn this in for a grade, and then get started finding a partner so you can start working on your which hand rules. Please also make sure your 2 Khan Academies are done. All right, peace out.